Pierre, Pierre. What is his name? Pierre.
Oh my God, no. I made the Oh, wow. Okay. Do you live in Quebec by any chance?
We are
we both speak French. Okay. I recently found out about Canada.
That was through me. Give your credit.
But was it you when I found out you guys don't have real rights?
Yeah, about Quebec and stuff, and
in Canada in general, you guys can suspend your constitutional rights for 5 years at a time.
We can.
It was insane, yeah, man.
I was shocked.
Specifically to what Norm said, because I just thought that it was a great statement and spoke to literally what Black people should be doing about. Not keep talking about politics when there's never been a Black politician in for real. You know what I'm saying?
There's a terrorist in all of us.
I'm worried about the wrong things. I feel, please, sir, I feel like maybe it feels fun to talk about politics and to sound politically sound. But I mean, there's bigger issues. There's bigger issues than just talking about who don't like a president and if a motherfucker sound racist or not. I mean, is the infrastructure being built within the nation that is stuck within another nation? I just think that's what the Jews did, and that's why they're so well renowned now and well known and constantly talked about. Because during the time when they was going through everything they was going through, they flipped the shit. They used it, built a nation, their own protected, insulated nation inside of America that now has to be respected at all terms. And I'm just saying, if Black people talking about Donald Trump or who you align with or what your political stance is, Republican or fucking Democrat, is not what that's. I'm just saying that's not nothing that the Jews was truly worried about.
And you know what group finna get leverage what they're going through to get a lot of empathy and resources allocated to them? The Hispanic community under this ICE thing, right? Because they've been sensationalizing this shit, right? ICE as the slave, because the Black people was complicit in painting this narrative, right? ICE is the slave the slave catcher. Immigrants are the enslaved. This is the narrative that even Black people I couldn't believe niggas was doing this. And now they're gonna use this leverage, right? Because it's about what group is the most oppressed. Because the LGBTQ community did it, right? They did it under Love Must Win, and we've been through this, and they was equating the Black issue with the LGBTQ. They used the masses empathy, right? And then they got policies and shit specifically for them, right? Now the next group, right, is going to be the Hispanics. They're done with niggas, bro. Listen, people are scared. Now, this is the part that we haven't discussed, right? If you add on everything that we discussed today, and then if you add the cancel culture, people are scared to get canceled by Black America, right? It's to the point where they probably prefer hiring other groups in corporate America because they're scared to say the wrong thing and lead to a lawsuit. They're scared to say shit in the public to lead to, people losing their businesses and shit. So they're like, I'm just gonna stay far away from Black people because these niggas is so it's hella shit, man. I ain't gonna lie, bro. We gotta recreate ourselves politically because this shit might be over. All that.
Yeah, dude, I can't do it off the negative talk. You talking a lot.
Just keeping it real. This ain't negative. This is facts.
Yeah, but you're like, nah, I'm not gonna say they doing that all. I hear your sentiment, but every ethnic group.
You see what I mean?
Every ethnic group didn't just champion themselves and just build themselves. No, they use the Black community to do it.
That's my point.
Including the folks, the jukebox people, also.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with eventually?
I'm saying this, right? I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying that these people, right, use civil rights, right? Black people frontline civil rights, but we added gender, we added nationality, we added religion, right? So the Jewish community attached themselves to civil rights. Immigrants attach themselves to civil rights and immigration. LGBTQ attach themselves, right? But the point is, they weaponize the sympathy from the masses to get institutions, right?
Absolutely, but they also weaponize us. They also harm
exactly.
us. So, for instance, like that news article we read, where
That's no doubt.
No.
The point is,
No one gives a fuck.
Hold on.
We know you don't.
I agree that all of these groups have been complicit in harming black people while also leeching off our civil rights, right? But I'm saying that people don't care no more.
Yeah, it's not necessarily about caring, but I just don't want
It is.
conversation. Let me see, shut your dumb ass up. Wait, hold on. Stop coming off your mic.
Literally, bro.
Wait. All right, fuck. Anyway, like I was just saying, what I'm saying is for Black American people, they need to understand that part that everybody used you, sabotaged you, made laws that you couldn't support your own, and then now they're telling you to stop crying about it. Okay, you don't have to cry about it, but we're not gonna act like that didn't exist for the Jewish people, for the Italians, for the Caucasians, for the Mexicans, and for everybody else that's in this room, the Africans as well, because they were getting funded too by the U.S. government while they over here punching down everybody else. They were given free room and board and education. All right, so every single group that's running their goddamn mouth now talking about what they did received handouts from the government in support to build their.
Sean Rodney, I tell you, I get no respect. I went to a drive-thru today. Every single thing that you said was true.
But why
My
do you
next
think
question.
this conversation is an interview with
Sean Rodney, I tell you, I get no respect. I went to a drive-thru today. My car was the only thing that served.
I'm John Kitover. My mama says I'm his easiest customer.
Sean Rodney, I tell you, I get no respect.
17-2026, we have a chance to remove Darren LaHood from Congress once and for all. When you go to vote, be sure to ask for a Republican ballot and write in John Kitover.
Right, but I would also like to point out.
Everybody, it's John Kitover. On March 17, 2026, be sure to request a Republican ballot and write in John Kitover to remove once and for all Darren LaHood from the United States Congress. Go to johnforcongress.com for all the info. And remember, March, everybody, it's John Kitover on March 17th.
We still got a whole lot of money. We just don't
I'm
have
Kitover. I'm running as a write-in candidate for Congress in Illinois 16th District. It's time to remove Darren LaHood from
I hear what they're saying too. Nobody gives a fuck.
Evening, a writing campaign is taking shape in Illinois 16th Congressional District.
I scream that to the top of our lungs, but I mean, we have no infrastructure. We have nothing for these motherfuckers to respect.
Without a
That's
straw,
what matters.
we're going to need a spoon. There's a blueberry marble pop float for Float Day Friday. Happy Float Day Friday. Well, we have a blueberry marble pop for Float Day Friday. The reason it's called a marble pop is because there's a marble right here that prevents the soda pop from coming out. First, we need to remove the plastic wrapper. Inside the wrapper, there's this little cap. And that middle part of the cap comes out like this. This is the part that you want. So you can see the marble right here. We're going to take this device and put it on top of the marble and push down. Marble went down. You can see the marble kind of moving around. It's right about here. There's two little dimples right here. And we're going to pour it in such a way that the marble gets caught. And notice it's beautiful color. 2 scoops of vanilla ice cream. That's how we create it. So chopsticks had a cherry on top. Without a straw, we're going to need a spoon.
You can be.
Of Black Americans, right, delineating and taking control and gatekeeping. This is all a part of the recreation, right? We just got to get the masses of Black Americans to fall in place. Listen, everything that y'all is saying is correct, right? But the point is of the room that people don't care, and we can use that as emotional leverage to get people to side with us in certain cases historically, right? Civil rights, especially what happened after Reconstruction, slavery, and after slavery, what we achieved during Reconstruction, 1920s. But we're saying in 2025, us saying what these other groups have done to fuck us over or use our plight for them to get benefits, it won't work. Like us saying that to them, nobody cares anymore.
Was that said to them, or was she making a comment about it?
It will work, but
Her mic is low. Hold on a second. Let's let y'all finish.
What I'm saying is this. It's not about us saying stuff. It's about us telling our people. This is the problem.
We don't know. Our people don't know.
Hey, shut. You ain't my
They
people.
don't know.
Calm down. You are
You're
not my
not a
people.
part
I'm
of us,
sorry,
bro.
NPC. God, I'm sorry. You're not. Stop. All right.
The melanated people don't know what
No.
happened to them. African, FBA, American Indian, we don't know.
NBC,
Go ahead.
your people were giving money through the African American Institute. starting in 19.
No, I'm saying we don't know.
No.
No, black people.
No. Close your mouth. You don't know. You see, you should not be speaking because you're not a representative of the people that are talking about what the problem is.
You're not a representative
This
either.
is the problem. This is the problem, is that you have the people who cause confusion in our bloodline, because he's not it. But
Not really.
He's speaking because he has brown skin. This is why our people.
Let her land. Hold on, real quick. Hey, embassy, let her get her full thought out, right?
What the fuck, yo?
And then you can respond. Hey, whoever got Angel blocked, can you unblock her? She's a IGP supporter. If not, I'll move everybody down.
Favorite biracial? No, Pearl is. She's
a close second. She's a close second.
I'm gonna give y'all 29 seconds. If y'all don't unblock her, then I gotta move everybody down so she come in.
Just move everybody down now. You know
it's up top. I just posted it up top.
Okay, I don't even know.
Yeah, if you click the link, then it'll let you know if she's blocked on.
Okay. So what I was basically saying is this. If at the end of the day, right, if we have all these confusing voices, such as some on the stage that have nothing to, their family came with money given to them from the government, free housing and board, they educated them, they made them diplomats, they put them in leadership roles. If you're coming from a group of melanated people whose ancestors from the 1950s, 1960s, from West Africa, because what I've learned is that a lot of these West African countries were supposedly, quote unquote, gaining their independence around 1953, 1960, around that era. And I realized that they weren't really gaining their independence. They were really just doing business, learning to do business with the United States to position themselves. Okay? That's what was going on. So when we hear gain their independence, we think, oh, they fought against Caucasians. They fought against these people. Now that I'm like doing some like really deep, I'm digging really deep with all the funding, and I'm aligning it with the dates. This is just when they started doing business with the West. All right, they established their independence in doing business, and so that's when they started their politics with the United States, which is a U.S. corporation, to come over here and try to replace us and to help with the confusion that was caused by all these other ethnicities that were already over here that were getting in the way of our fight. So what they did was they brought melanated people over here as well. They funded them. They educated them in our universities. All right. They spent hundreds of millions on them to get them established. So we are not in the same position as any Nigerian over here or any other ethnic group. We have to understand that from an economic base and from a fighting base. They are not fighting our battles. However, they are here causing confusion like NPC. And that needs to be clear. All right? We don't have the same fight here. And I'm like,
one other thing that could be said I'll bring up the discussion economics, right? And the lobby, the economics and the lobby. And this is important here, Luke.
I can go out to
economics and the lobby. And to sharpen your skills as a lobbyist, right? And to sharpen your skills in economics, if you got a 2.5 trillion or even just 1 trillion, then you have to adapt the behavior pattern of people with $1 trillion and stop allowing people to either disrespect you, disregard you, or do any of those disses to you as a people. You got $1 trillion. And all you got to learn is one thing and one thing only. Where the Dirks and the Longworth building is, where the cannon, and who exactly to lobby on behalf of your interests or your cause. I am very serious about that. I'm fairly skilled in finding out exactly how to lobby, who to lobby, and when in Washington, D.C. And this is exactly what we're discussing. And I'm saying to you that you can make your market there, but you got to bring a $1 trillion character to the table. Your Michael Jordan A game, or your Mike Tyson A game, or your Michael Jackson A game to the front line and tell them we would not accept them. We don't. Adam Clayton Powell, the most skilled man I ever seen. He said, we don't want any more than what you have. But goddammit, we're certainly not willing to accept any less than what you have. And we put our negotiations out and force our agents to represent us in the person of Bernie Taylor, in the person of Albert, in the person goddamn job for you, for we the people, the constituency, the voters that elect them. It's usually a whole black man. You see a congressional black congressman, they goddamn he put in by elected black voters that came, got up out of their house, went to the polls, and voted for his black ass. And now you gotta make him do his goddamn job. Now, I'll tell you how to get results. If you can skip it, you can pimp it, you can move it around, but at the end of the day, you got to get in where you goddamn it. Where you got it. Oh my God, you got to and know where to go. You ain't got those on chat things.
No,
Job,
you gotta see,
and that's work. You got to put in work.
So, what's happening now? Because we're making this a diaspora thing, and we're acting anytime I disagree with what someone is saying. I actually like y'all. I prefer melanated people, but it doesn't really matter what I prefer because no one's gonna believe it. What Black America is experiencing right now, because you guys have been insulated by the West and the United States, what you guys are experiencing right now, don't take any offense. You guys are experiencing what it feels like to be African. And this is what I mean.
What?
In other places in the world, when fucked up shit happens to an ethnicity of people, no one cares. It is a very unique thing in the West that when one group is fucked over, they get even any type of sympathy. I come from a place where the government kill you, kill you. If the police kills you, there's no money you're getting from the government. If the government fucks you over, there isn't anyone on the news crying over you. If you die, you die. They don't care. Other people suffer. What I'm talking about is being politically strategic. What I don't even know if it's disagreeing with, but what I was really surprised about is the response of, okay, I'm not saying this because I'm trying to emotionally blackmail people, blah, blah, blah. I'm saying this because Black people need to hear it. Black people don't know about Black history. Globally, in the United States, Black Americans don't know about Black history. On the continent, we don't know about Black history. How many times, it's getting to a point I'm getting Black fatigue. Because I keep hearing truth every single time we're talking about something else. We bring up the true points about the past of people who look like me and you. Every single one of the points is true. Are we gonna use what happened in the past to have something substantial, or are we just gonna keep just repeating it with no effect? That's the only thing I'm talking about. So if we're in a position where we live in a we live in a constitutional republic, we do not live in we don't live in Negroism yet. We don't live in Negroism yet. If we lived in Negroism, whatever we wanted would happen. We live in a society where we have to convince people who don't look like us to accept an agenda that benefits us, if we want to do that. That's what I'm talking about.
I want to say this just before we know, just so everybody know where we at. So we was talking about, because it was a Jewish guy on stage and said how, people are getting tired of the word anti-Semitism being used against people, the word racism being used, and all of the emotional blackmail that people have used after what happened to the Holocaust. They used it to create institutions and use that sympathy to build Israel, and the stuff that we done after slavery, or Civil Rights Act. People don't have that same empathy in 2026. So, using identity politics, guilt-tripping people into voting one way, calling people. So, for example, it was a lady, Jamil Hill. She's liberal. She was talking about the Hispanic people are easy targets, right? And this is why they vote for Trump. And they're actually voting for their own demise. And people are saying you can use that for other Black people, right? Try to demean them and say that they're stupid because they voted for Trump, but that won't work on other groups. And a lot of people are done with empathizing with Black America, right? So I'm gonna play this clip and then we'll get back to the. So here's the clip, and then this is a Latino lady.
Evening, all right?
Response.
Evening, a writing campaign is taking shape in Illinois' 16th congressional district. Army veteran and
Latino and Hispanic communities are, to be frank, especially if you're from Cuba. Cubans here, socialism, communism, and as long as the Republicans use those words to describe
evening, a writing campaign.
I'm Kitover. I'm running as a writing candidate.
Didn't make a conscious
I'm Kitover.
decision
I'm running as a
because
writing
we
candidate for
just
Congressman.
were confused, we didn't understand what we were doing. That's pretty fucking insulting and tone deaf considering the state of your community.
I'm Kitover. I'm running.
Step with the Democrat
Everybody, it's
Party.
John Kitover, number 17, 2026.
Laundry list of
17, 2026. We have a chance to remove that.
you voting for that has taken away your family, caused mass incarceration, the lowest level of education, but we're dumb because we understand what communism and socialism is. Newsflash, when we hear those words, it's not a trigger, bitch, it's experience. And in case you didn't know, most Hispanics are conservative because we value family, faith, entrepreneurship, working hard, building something for the next generation. We know exactly what we're voting for. And no, we didn't need anyone telling us how to think, not in English or Espanol.
Let's pass it to
Close the room, Lou. After that shit right there, I don't know what anybody gonna say, Lou. Lou, you might as well just close the room. Shorty just, she destroyed it. She dropped nuclear bomb.
Facts.
Does Anthony have metal?
Hello, moderator.
I can tell you why you don't.
Hello?
Let's pass it to chat. It's on chat.
Oh, okay, yes, thank you.
Real quick, put a gun emoji in the chat if you agree with this Hispanic woman. Put a brain emoji in the chat if you disagree. All right, let's pass it.
Cool. Like what's odd to me is that other groups of people were quote unquote made whole, based on the atrocities that their particular racial group experience, right? You have even Japanese Americans, you have Holocaust survivors. They were compensated by Germany. You have the reparations that were paid post internment camps for Japanese Americans, right? The reason why you don't hear from them about that is because it was addressed, right? And they were, at least the government made an attempt to make them whole. The problem lies in what I think that Normo and NPC don't quite understand is that the reason why we're talking about it because all we keep getting is no. And then to tell us to be quiet. To me, it speaks against. Now you are okay with. Well, I had listen there. Y'all are okay with everyone else being made whole, but us. But you want us to be quiet. I think it's odd, right? The thing that I spoke about, because a lot of us tune our ears and lean in when certain people, quote, I'm using air quotes, when certain people speak, and we tune other people out. And I think some of it is anti-Black within our own community, because one of the things that I spoke about earlier was lobbying. And for us to come together and identify the things that as a people we want to lobby the government for, even if it's three things, right? If you look at what the Heritage Foundation was able to create, what is the equivalent of that in our community?
NAACP.
No, it's not. That's what's crazy. Because if it were, the NAACP would have crafted a working paper for us to set the agenda for us as a people. They set the agenda for their organization. They're not setting it for the people. How in the hell do we have week CBC every year and we haven't set an agenda out every year for our people?
Because they're African.
Because
they're African, that's why.
CBC is African?
Yes. The people are African.
No.
Yes, they are. We got
Congressional Black Caucus, man.
The Congressional Black Caucus is I think 9 of the rest of all from other ethnic melanated groups around the world.
I'm a rural resident. The reason why
That's the reason.
Yeah, look it up. Look it up.
Yeah, that's why. Listen, I was a part of the Texas delegation for a minute. I haven't been in 3 years, but literally, I don't understand what's happening.
Yeah, look it up.
Thank you. can start anew. But what's happening is we're trying to go through a party system, and we believe that party system will be able to direct us and make and improve our situation. That is not going to happen, because if we do that, it has to be filtered through their agenda. We have to remove that filter, come together, galvanize, and identify whatever that agenda is, and make a long-term plan for it. But we're not doing that. And the moment, and we have to have people that are telling us that what we have to say, we need to be quiet, or it doesn't matter. While you got China and freaking Russia in your country freaking running amok all up and down your doggone continent, but you want to tell us to be quiet. And when y'all need to speak more on your own continent. Don't come over here, go talk to them. I'll land there. Thank you.
Okay, real quick. So
I just want to say this real quick.
Real quick. Before TC and my brother Anthony go, let's get to the meat and potatoes. All right, let's talk to white people. Let's start with Alan. Alan,
for this tip.
I got you. Hold on.
Good evening. A writing campaign is taking shape in Illinois' 16th congressional district. Army veteran and community advocate.
And one thing that poker has taught me, right? In order for you to win, you don't play your hand, you play your opponent. So you got to think outside of yourself, look at your opponent tendencies, and then play that to your advantage in the game of poker, right? So that same logic should apply, right? I understand black people, right? Because I'm Black American, but we got to understand how non-black people view us in this political landscape in 2026, right? So we can't base shit off how we see it. We got to see how, because if you look at the people who control the institutions, it's non-black Americans, right? So we got to see, we got to kind of evaluate their posts and then make strategic moves based off that, right? So let's start with Alan. Alan, let me ask you a question. Is white guilt over? Are white people done empathizing with Black Americans' plight? What's your thoughts?
Speak your mind, Alan.
Yes, this is a free speech act. Because the reason why I told you first is because you have a picture that's been politicized by white people, and they're equating that as the equivalent to George Floyd, right? And they're saying that Black people are targeting. It's like Birth of a Nation times 20, right? They're saying that Black men are targeting white women, right? That was a Ukrainian immigrant they got on the line. Yeah. So, what's your thought on that picture? And do you is the white guilt over? White people are not empathizing with Black people anymore. Do you feel like that's true?
Speak freely, Alan. When have you known me not to speak freely? Look, I'm not sure I'm the best representative of
white speak, motherfucker!
But I am probably a representative of a certain segment. This is what I think. I think that most white people don't want to see themselves as being bad people. And so what the left tapped into was, you are a bad person if you're racist, which I kind with that. That is true. It is not the only thing by we measure whether or not you're a good or bad person, but it is something one can measure with. I think what's happened is there's a perception from white people of, look, we've been trying to do all these things for you because we empathize with you, we size with you, and now this is how we repay. You're still complaining that we're racist. You're jumping all over us because we don't say the right things, we don't use the right language, you're always changing how we're supposed to address you. There's all these things that we got to conform to, and at the same time, we're just trying to live our lives just like you are, and it's come a problem. It's too much. And I think, the idea of, I don't want to use the term, but people get tired of that. It's like, we will do
and then all of a sudden it wasn't enough, or the narrative changed, or whatever it was for a political party.
Okay, I get what you're saying. Now, how do you feel as an individual? Is your empathy towards Black people is over, and how does that apply to the picture in your PTR?
Well, Lou, as far as the picture in my PTR, I don't. If you want, I can talk about it because I've had this argument. The actual stats of white violence against Black people and black violence against white people shows overwhelmingly that Black people are attacking white people in disproportional numbers.
Okay, now you thought up.
No.
All right.
Full thought out. We're not finished.
All right.
Get my feelings shit. This is how a lot of white people think. Continue.
Okay. And my feeling is, look, take care of your shit, because otherwise, and I know nobody's going to like this, because if you don't, we will.
Nigga, what? Hold on. Is that a threat? No, what the fuck?
What you take it as you want, but if
You know the dude that killed
I
him was
know.
the Wait, hold on.
Lou,
Because we direct. You are Armenian, right? You're white passing. So when you say, if you don't, we will, can you elaborate?
Yes. Now let me put it nicely, okay?
No, we don't want nice. We want direct.
No.
This is Free Speech America.
I can make the point.
This is Free Speech America under
Yeah,
Trump.
well,
We want how you really feel. Don't act like a white
This is how I really.
Don't act like a white
Okay,
liberal.
Lou,
Act like a white Republican.
He's Armenian.
He's
Lou,
assimilated to white.
Yeah, but they're not the same people. That's like calling Nigerian a Black American.
Lou, this is how I really feel.
What?
No. What I'm about to say, I'm not sugarcoating it, okay? What I really feel is that every community has its issues, okay? That's true, all right? And the Black community has its issues. Now, it needs to solve it, and it needs to solve it on its own. It can't keep waiting for white people to solve it. It can't keep asking for white people to come up with the solutions or come up with the financial means by which it will solve these problems. But if it doesn't do it, not me, but there is certainly a segment of the American population who is getting more and more pissed about it.
Can I respond to Alan real quick?
Hold on. Can you tell us a little bit more about the shit that they get pissed about?
Yeah, like like your PTR. Bro, Alan, stand on it, bro.
No, you're dancing around it.
So wait.
How am I getting? No, you.
So wait. Can you break down?
You saying you can't use the ideological to believe this?
Somehow I thought this time things would be a little bit different.
You're right. I feel the first to make it possible it would be different next time for somebody else. I know you got the moxie to do this.
Excuse me, Miss Standard, a little more comfortable in a room.
Miss Standard is quite comfortable, thank you.
I hope you're happy.
No, I'm not happy at all.
Fox is doing a film with Bizet's Carmen. They're using an all-Negro cast. Do you know how they coded actors want this part? She is Carmen. You should have seen her run up the Beyond the Rose. And I tried all the way from the valley to the studio. And along the way, I see faces. Have I ever seen the face of Dorothea Dandridge?
Why did Joe Young decide to get me a meeting?
Apparently saw you from his car window one morning.
Mr. Preminger, we'll see you now. Have you seen my man?
Woman, right? She's not a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. She's a rep from another country.
Yeah.
And white America got on cold with this. We know that the dude that unalived her, he has mental health issues. He's homeless. He has a criminal record. He got all type of mental health problems. They didn't care about that. All they seen was, in their eyes, a white woman being Americans got on cold with Ukrainian refugees.
Hold on, Luke.
Lou,
Let me just say this. No.
Dead wrong.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say this. This is the reason why this race shit needs to stop. Because everybody was not on board with what the fuck that whatever happened with whatever you're saying. Because this flat white, flat black, all this bullshit is stupid. And what it does, it gets to hide people. Every Caucasian ain't talking the way Alan's talking. Okay, he's Armenian, and this is the reason why the Caucasians who've been here for, with the heritage Americans, they trying to separate themselves from all these fucking people too. The reality of the situation is this: we need to get rid of race and just deal with them ethnicities, okay? Because then the confusion can stop. This dude Alan does not speak for all these other people. He doesn't. He's Armenian. He just got here. He just fucking got here. So he can't speak for the white America who black Americans have been dealing with this whole time.
Well, let me say.
You gotta stop this shit, yo.
Yeah, well, let me say.
Wait, hold on, let me say this. But listen, see, I understand it from a black American perspective, but white people have been protected institutionally, historically, right? Ever since the 1790 Immigration Act, where they wanted to bring quote unquote good white people in, right? Right. So there's no benefit for them to delineate, right? This is why a lot of white Americans on the right, fuck with Elon Musk, right? This is why a lot of white Anglo-Saxon Protestant people or people who've been here since the inception, they still side with this Ukrainian woman, right? Because they're still on cold with whiteness. Because how it works is they get benefits from being on cold with whiteness, right? So it's not in their best interest to delineate between different white groups.
That's not true. That's why they're fighting in the streets now without us.
Yeah,
that's why they're fighting in the streets now without us, because they're delineating too. Stop.
They're not delineating. It's a black Muslim that they're not delineating because they don't
black
want to.
Americans should delineate, right? But I'm saying
They're already delineating because
white America. Wait, hold on. We gotta break down, right? Like, so for example, right, during Jim Crow, right? There was a institutional caste system, right? Blacks, non-whites versus blacks, right? So people come to this country. That's why they benefit from the Homestead Act, right? These newly immigrants, right? This is why they benefit from racial segregation, right? Is because they benefit at the expense of black people, right? They don't want to give that up, right? So they're not delineating. This is what I'm saying. They embrace Elon Musk. Do you see white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, people that have been here for 400 years complaining about Elon Musk getting benefiting the most from government contracts?
Yeah, we know that part. But Elon Musk is African American on fucking paper. That's why he's getting
Let
me just say this. Let me just say this though, because this has to do with Alan. Okay, the reality situation is this. Alan made the first statistic he said let you know he ain't fucking been here. When he said, oh, black people disproportionately harm white people. That is a foreigner ass fucking, I have no idea what's going on in America statistic. Alright? No foundational or heritage American white person would ever say no stupid shit like that.
They say it all the time.
No, they don't. No. You might have got some trolls. They know that the police kill us. They know they're on code. They know what they've done to they know the debt that's owed. So when you hear someone talk like that, you know he don't know what the fuck is going on in America. You don't know.
The debt that's owed.
Listen, y'all don't understand how the assimilating to whiteness work, right? Alan he didn't adopt that white mentality overnight, right? Because he's always been Armenian first. People come to this to the United States and assimilate to the dominant culture, and they take on the mentality of these white people that you say that don't say these things. These people on the far right, a lot of these people, right, far right, not the right, they're the descendants of the people who got influenced by Birth of a Nation movie that inspired racial massacres throughout America, right? So these people take on the mentality. Alan, This is not an immigrant mentality. This is a nigga that came over here.
You're assuming
to white much.
The far right. The far right.
Just wait.
It's not far right. Donald Trump won the presidency twice. How is it?
When you say
We're getting
far right,
distracted. We're getting distracted over race.
Hold on, y'all getting confused. Hold on, because listen.
Yeah, you're. Let me correct the record, okay? I didn't come over here. I was born here. My grandparents came. Second of all, Armenians were excluded from immigration into this country as being non-white, and we had to sue to get included.
Exactly, they're assimilated.
So there's the part. That's part of it. The second
Are y'all
part of it.
Well, let 'em go.
Part of it, and I'll end with this. We can go back and forth. Okay, most of everything I'm talking about, the woman on the subway, all of the crime, all of the stats that I talk about and have talked about, is committed by an extremely small percentage of the U.S. population and a small percentage of the black population. I recognize that. I recognize that most black people are going around and not involved in this shit, and that I understand that I am not going to condemn the entire community because of the shit that a small percentage of your community commits. But when I say you got to take care of this shit, I mean it. And I think the problem is, and I'll land with this, the problem is you got the ghetto, ratchet ass segment of your community holds the rest of the community hostage because you can't say, hey, dumbasses.
you gave a platform.
Because let me
This is a free speech. I'm a
Feelings.
white people call their poor people and stupid people white trash. And they know white trash knows that they're white trash. But in the black community, you are terrified to call out your ratchet ass members and say, cut that shit out, or we are going to take
How did you know to use the word ratchet?
Yeah, how do I know? Because
Wait,
That's
fuck all that. He said what he said. So let's address it. Who want to address it?
I want to address one part. Because at the same time that he's saying the ratchet America. Yeah, but this is my thing. At the end of the day, you have different record labels, different other ethnic record labels that pay millions and whatever to the ratchet community, to uphold the ratchet community. That is not the doing of the black community. You guys are choosing these people to be the representative of, and they get paid to act that way. So that's just the true reflection of the black community. Those are stereotypes. Okay, so again, when you talk about all these bad things in the black community, and you talk about all these things in the black community, it's other ethnic groups that's trying to make that be the standard. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a lot of black American people who do not act that way. You got the Democratic Party is putting what's her name, Cardi B, in front of the politicians. The Democratic Party is sitting there having a party and bringing an abortion truck to a campaign to live abortions. Okay.
And I am constantly reading.
Okay, so
You ever heard of No Limit Records? They're not white entities. Alright? Bad Boy Rich. Yo, listen, these are not white entities. People have to acknowledge the truth. Running from the shit ain't gonna do anybody no good. This fucked up ratchet shit is celebrated in the black community. It is what it is. We can't run. We can't pretend. Sexy Red didn't just happen.
he's an FBI informant.
You got black principals inviting Sexy Red to perform at their schools. The reason why we're here is because a person can give every single disclaimer. We know that 99.9 of y'all ain't doing this, but the 1/10 of 1% is doing this. Can y'all do about it?
We would rather hear from
Wait, hold on, because earlier, I brought up.
Hold on, real quick. Hold on. I thought y'all was going to address. Now, Alan, let me ask you a question. Are you familiar with the book Cracker Culture by Grady McWhiney?
No, I'm not, but I love the title.
Okay, so Cracker Culture, right? Cracker Culture. Hold on, no, I'm not joking. I'm because we gotta break down what he's saying. Because I think he's just ignorant. Cracker Culture is a book by Grady McWhiney, right? And he basically argued that much of this culture came from Celtic regions in like Britain, Scotland, Northern England, Ireland. So then he claimed that these Celtic settlers brought this distinct culture, right? It's called cracker culture. It's basically the equivalent of like gang banging culture, because a lot of the culture that you complain about the small percentage of black people committing crimes, right? We didn't start doing gangs until the 60s, 70s, right? So before it was black gangs, it was cracker gangs, right? Ku Klux Klan, right? Irish mafia, Italian mob, all of these European gangs that started in the 1880s, 1700s, 1600s. This formed a cracker culture. So these Celtic settlers, right? They was basically herding like traditions rather than farming. They had this thing called honor culture, right? So we call it get it back in blood. Y'all call it honor culture and like personal violence and shit, right? Yeah. So they had like strong. But basically, the book was talking about how they had strong loyalty towards kin groups and they was anti-government because the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant people, the British colonized Ireland for like hundreds of years, right? So they brought these people over here, and a lot of this shit that y'all complain about literally comes from white culture. And y'all have yet to address the Ku Klux Klan. Y'all have yet to address all of these groups that's been doing this cracker shit, right, for the last 400 years. But you want to hold the magnifying glass of Black America and try to hold and tell us to hold our people accountable. When are you going to hold the crackers accountable?
That is whataboutism at its finest.
But it's okay.
It doesn't make any sense, my brother.
Let the white land, and you can respond why it don't make sense.
I'm
in agreement with you. I'm all for self-accountability. I think black people. I just want to clarify. I don't do this thing where I try to like ignore the problematic shit in the community, right? I do think there are some problematic things that black people need to address. Not only black people, Americans, because we're Americans. When it was violence against Asian people, right? White people got behind Asians to protect them. So why don't y'all get behind the small percentage of the black people that you claim that harm everybody, right? Why don't y'all get behind and protect other black people? They're still Americans, right?
That's right.
So shouldn't it be an American accountability?
All right. And I don't, first of all, before I say anything else, thanks for letting me speak on the stage. First of all, I appreciate that. Second of all, look, you said I was ignorant of some stuff. I won't deny that claim. But I don't think you have to be well versed in history to know how to be nice to people. And now let me ask you a question. Okay, say hypothetically there's a white person and this white person, he's looking for a roommate. And somebody calls him up and says, look, I heard you got an ad. I'm interested in being your roommate. And the person is obviously black. What is the right thing to do, the non-racist thing to do, and what would be the racist thing to do would be to say, yeah, I already rented the place. Now, and then here's the question, Lou. think I did in that situation?
If it was a black woman, I'm pretty sure you offered to be her sugar daddy.
Well, I didn't offer to be her sugar daddy, but I did live with her for 2.5 years.
I knew it. I fucking knew it. It was a black woman. You thirsty motherfucker.
Well, I had 2 other female roommates, and nothing happened. Nothing happened. Okay? We were roommates. But the point is what would it, the point is that I did what you're supposed to do, right?
Why are you looking for black people's validation on what you
I'm
did?
not looking. I don't
You're looking for black validation. You're a closet liberal. Okay, you complain about the left, but then you're seeking validation. Hey, what you do is horrible. This specific situation cannot be labeled a racist.
Lou, I don't care.
Telling him trick bag in his bag, brother.
I've been called a racist 1,000,000 times on this app. I don't need anybody's.
Do you care about being called a racist in 2026?
Me? No.
Lou, you know you
No. You know why?
What should keep about being called a racist in
What I
2026?
say. What I say.
Who came off their mic and said, "Lou, you know who's not white? He's not white." You're absolutely right. Again,
Well, he
it's
assimilated. Listen. You know, all right. I don't think y'all know how white this work in America, right? Irish, Italians, Ashkenazi Jews, a lot of these people historically, the dominant culture in America has historically been white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant, right? So these people had to assimilate, right, to whiteness, right? Fight for their whiteness. Even Hispanics in the early 1920s, they got a thing called a LULAC, where they campaigned to not be labeled non-white. Right?
Yeah, but it's not. It has nothing to do with color, though. It's a status and law, though. So they were trying to get certain civilities and certain rights in the white status. So let's not make it about like it's a bloodline.
Yeah, exactly.
Whiteness by law.
Yeah.
No, white is not.
Yeah.
It's a status and law.
Armenians come from the region called the
Caucasus.
Mom. We are the original white people.
No. White, because melanated people, white in America, white had to do with like property and everything else. So stop, because this is the confusion on the stage. We need to stop the confusion on the stage, acting like white has something to do with pale skinning. It is a status and law that gives you certain rights. It's always been that way in the U.S. corporation, but they've dumbed it down for black people to think that white means that it has something to do with Caucasus skin or whatever. Caucasians, that's why you always, this is the reason why you always hear me say Caucasians. I call them Caucasians from the Caucasus Mountains. There are black people who are white in law. They're white in status. The Horn of Africa, melanated people are white in status. So we have to stop making it be about color. That's the ignorant part that they want you to think. Not understanding has to do with rights.
But y'all, like that.
I want to hear from Alan. Go ahead, Alan. Go ahead, Alan.
What you just said just
Go ahead, Alan.
Yeah, you gotta stop demonizing black people
I'm not.
who act white. Not you in particular. Well, maybe you don't.
No, I don't do that.
The whole idea of being a sellout, okay?
She never said that.
I don't do that.
No, I know, but you're...
No. We're not going to switch the subject. Hold on real quick, Alan.
Stick to what we're talking about.
Pause there. Appreciate you. Anthony, what's your thoughts on what Alan said? Are you in 100% agreement, or and explain why?
So, Lou, man, I think Alan tried to be as honest as he could.
I respect that. I definitely respect honesty.
I think he tried to have a productive conversation. And what your response was you came with the whataboutism. You talked about, how the negative aspects of black culture came from white people according to some book. Thomas Sowell has a book called
White Redneck, Black Liberal. That's literally what he says in the book.
Yes, exactly what he says in the book. 100%.
1,000%. But you know what? Thomas Sowell is considered to be a coon. You know what I'm saying? Like you got the most prolific Supreme Court justice ever in the history of Supreme Court justices. The guy that has more written decisions by far than any other Supreme Court justice. He's considered to be a coon. This is not what about black people.
Who the fuck said that Thomas Sowell was a coon?
Nigga, they say that shit all the time. Look, we're not gonna play that game, Lou. We're not gonna play that game. They call Thomas Sowell a coon. You're gonna say, who says Thomas Sowell's a coon? And you're gonna ignore when I say that people call Clarence Thomas a coon. Do black people call Clarence Thomas a coon? All the time. All the fucking time. And black people call Thomas Sowell a coon all the time too.
No, they still call him.
No, man. It happens all the time.
Why
I respect
are they calling him a coon?
Sometimes it's justified, other times it's not.
Oh, NPC, I'm asking Anthony a question. Anthony, why do they call these people coons?
Because they perceive what they say to be anti-black. Because in the so-called black community, if a black person criticizes another black person openly, he's wrong for doing that. There's supposed to be some secret meeting where black people can only criticize black people at this secret meeting among black people. You can't openly criticize black people. You can't say to the young lady having four kids with four different men is wrong. You can't say that. That's anti-black. You're othering yourself. Lou, I'm
the black community. As soon as we hold each other accountable,
Lou, what I'm saying to you is there is no accountability. What I'm saying to you is there is no standards. There used to be a time when there were standards. There used to be a time when there were standards. There used to be a time when your grandmother would say to me, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. There used to be that time. What Chris Rock said is there's a civil war going on between black people and niggers. I'm here to tell you the niggers won the Civil War. The niggers won. That's what the fuck happened. And there's no accountability, no standards in the so-called community. Newsflash.
Niggas want
Here's the solution.
I wanted to hop in there, look, whenever you wait, one mic on Mr.
I don't want to be on the niggas' side. Luke, so look, I agree with Brother Anthony too, man. He made some great points, and everybody else is making great points, right? But this is the issue, and this is how we solve it. We now see, and Sister Yah dropping jewels as usual, but now we have to talk about how do we fix it. The first way we fix it, we delineate and separate, but using a political action committee PAC and institutions and organizations on what's happening now in 2026. We can't have these conversations with the Martin and Malcolm outlook. Yes, I do agree. We do have a civil war against niggas and black folks. Yes, I do agree with everything people say. But how do we fucking fix it? Fuck all this intellectual masturbating. How do we fix it? This is how we fix it. Can we all agree every immigrant since the 60s has come to this country on our backs? Yes. Now that they're here, they got fucking 50 years of doing what they want. They're like, fuck you. Cool. That's our mistake. And we made a lot of mistakes since the 60s. We have to fix them now with money, institutions, and organizations. Not the ones that we have now, because they are already corrupted. They are already not us. And yes, when Sister Yah said that information earlier, some of y'all pushed back on it. Most of these organizations now are supposed to be us, like the NAACP or the Urban League, et cetera, they are not us. And people like Brother NPC and others, they don't want us to speak like this, because if we delineate and separate with power, with political actions committees, and we give the information and answers about who we really are, they no longer get the free subway ride. They no longer get the free trip. They no longer get the free ride. And they have to delineate, separate, and get it the same way they always told us. By, put your boots up. By your boots up, right? That's our number one problem is now we're too scared to say, fuck Pan-Africanism. Fuck everybody else. We're going to get it how we live. But sweat and tears behind it. We need to put money behind it. We need to put organizations behind it and institutions behind it. And the first way is do the history, know the information about how we got here. Number two is show the whole world how white women, DEI, LGBT plus, and every other goddamn thing that's out here rocking now, it's us. What's for us? And we got nothing off it. So now the buffer classes. Now we're fighting the white man, buffer classes, and the whole entire planet. And if we don't put money with it, with institutions and organizations, like you said earlier, with Dr. Wu, Claude Anderson said, he gave us a date. We will be a permanent fucking underclass with nothing. That's the answer right there. That's the work. Because now, when we have money, institutional organizations, we can have our meeting to say, hey, yo, you're a nigga, and you're out of here. We're going to cut you by your head. Oh, yeah. Oh, you're over there cooning? See you later. Oh, we let you in. We thought you were going to fight for us. You didn't. Off with your head. But if we don't have an institution or organizations that can do that backed by money with standards and a constitution, it's all for naught.
Let me reset the room. That was good. We're talking about white guilt is over under Trump. We was talking about how, well, this is a comment that was by El Normo. He said that people are done, he's a Jewish person, he said people are done empathizing with Jewish people and what they've been through during the Holocaust. But what they did was use that empathy at the time to get Israel and use that empathy to get institutions, and now that people are done with empathizing with institutions so they can make moves. And he feels like black people, what happened to black people historically has ran out. So I was gonna play this clip, and we was gonna talk to some white people about this and have a real dialogue. Here
Racist. My generation. You want to know why I'm racist? My generation of white American men were told that the last 80 years were a problem. People who looked like us, that lived like us, they were the problem. And that we all needed to get past racism together. And that if we could pull it off, if we could get past racism, if we could learn to live in a colorblind society, that things would be better for all of us. And so we were the first generation raised with a truly post-racial mindset. And as we started to reach adulthood, we walked down, put our hand forward to shake the hands of every other race, of every other group, of every other religion, and were immediately sucker punched by reality. Everybody else made it clear that no, they're not striving for a post-racial society. They want to fight over our corpse. They didn't want equality, they wanted our stuff. Right now, to be a white man in America, you have to be out loud, expressly okay with the idea that in 50 years, your entire lineage, your entire bloodline, your entire cultural history won't exist anymore. I'm not going to apologize for the achievements of my ancestors. I'm not going to apologize because my people built a better world than yours. We took a land made of stick huts and bison chasers and turned it into the country that put a man on the fucking moon in less than 200 years. We made everything that these people are fleeing their homelands of thousands of years to come and deliver DoorDash to.
All right, so this is now, I don't agree with this, but I do like to look outside of me and look at, even if it's not true, I like to look at what a lot of white people believe. So there's people. Oh, shit.
Except for the past 30 years, looks like a file.
So I was reading something online where they said a lot of leftists, people that was on the left, they're tired of like cancel culture of black people. They're tired of people using racism when it's not even racist at times. And people are leaving. And people brought up that Elon Musk is one of those examples. He benefited from the left, but I guess he has something, this racist term called black fatigue, so that made him want to go to the other side. So let's pass it to Pepe. Is there any more white people in here? Put a 1 in the chat. This is a free speech app. I disagree with people's perspective, but people are allowed to say it, and we're allowed to push back. Pepe, is white guilt over? And you said that in the chat, you said that white people and Hispanics are teaming up against black people.
I didn't say teaming up. I said that whites and Hispanics will always prefer each other over black people. It's just how it's always played out.
It sounds like teaming up when you say each other. All right. How do you feel about the topic?
Well, I mean, I agree with everything that gentleman had said that you played earlier. I think that, it's largely, I think that black people went too hard during the Black Lives Matter period. For many years, it was kind of, you had too much of, I would say, like grievances and cancel culture from African Americans, and a lot of demands, and people just got really, I would say the Black Lives Matter shit like just kind of was the icing on the cake, and people had too much, and they stopped taking black people seriously, and they, quite frankly, were very insulted by the things they said, and no longer want to deal with, a lot of the problems that come with the black community, and don't want to be blamed for their problems. And so I would say, that's why I would largely agree that white guilt is over. You don't see black people guilting white people like you did 6-7 years ago. I mean, I'd say the culture has largely changed.
Can I respond real quick? Because I feel like you're trying, you do know George Soros, funded that, and, that became a whole thing of its own, and the money didn't even go to black people. So this is where I get annoyed in these conversations where, all this blame is on black people when they killed the actual activists who founded it. People were found, in their cars, shot here, shot there, whatever the case may be, and George Soros, who's Jewish, funded it, and took this shit to a whole nother level, and it no longer had to do with black people. It was just a money grab. So does that? But does that come in the narrative anywhere? Because this is open information at this point. So
they care about that. They care about see how it works is right. It's about narrative, right?
I get it, but I still need to bring clarity to the room, regardless if it's narrative or not. I understand that. I don't care what they care about. I don't care what they care about. What I'm saying to the room, anybody who's listening, this is what happened. We were not even doing that. That was an engine that George Soros took over, manipulated, and used it for his own gain worldwide. It no longer had to do with black people. None of that money even went to them, except for the ones who were caught with fraud. I think it was 2 or 3 who bought a house from it. But nationwide, globally, it had nothing to do with black American people, regardless. So he can still have his opinion, but the fact that these things have come out should, I don't know, our brains aren't working too well. But I'll end.
Y'all, every time I hear about what happened, okay, and how someone infiltrated a movement and was able to manipulate and coerce black people, I can't help but think that you can't simultaneously think that you're on the same level of other races or ethnic groups in society and want to sit at the table, but you're not even self-conscious enough to realize how the game is played. That if individuals see that there's an opportunity to exploit, manipulate, that they'll take it. And that every hand that reaches towards you with something enticing or inviting is not a friendly hand. Sometimes it's the trap, and that you're living in a world of predators, plain and simple. And so how long do people allow themselves to get fooled? How long do people lead themselves through emotions? So you gotta think strategically. And I agree with Amici. Until the individual or the group take 100% responsibility, then you're never going to have ownership and be able to correct it and renovate yourself. You're going to always want to project. And that's what Amici was saying when he says the whataboutism. Forget whataboutism. We get a point that if someone says something that's valid, incredible, and factual, internalize it and correct it
to America,
and then rise back up stronger.
Move that somebody down.
And rise back up stronger. So because if you're not mature enough, if you're not mentally, if you don't possess the mental fortitude.
Lose Josh? Did we lose him?
I think he lost
games
service.
being played, then you're always going to lose.
You went out for a second. Yes,
Well, I said if we don't possess the mental fortitude to develop an effective stratagem and to eliminate anyone, regardless of what they look like, that is not actively participating or conducive to accomplishing those objectives, then they need to be moved out of the way. And that's just all there is, because politics is always deadly. That's what it is. That's what it's been since the beginning of mankind. It's a cutthroat business. No matter how much they cleaned it up and put a suit on it, it's still the same. So no one is looking out for anyone's best interest. You have to look out for your own best interest and find like-minded individuals. And sad to say, you got to become just as exploitive as the next man. And that means you can't deal with your elected representatives with the carrot. You got to have a big stick over their heads and punish them if they don't act accordingly. That's what it is. And if you can't do that, you're going to keep losing. Plain and simple. So when you have a black caucus, like someone said, that a significant proportion are just black in appearance, but they're from other countries and they don't have black American interests really at heart, you're just playing the color game, and you're going to lose at that. That's it.
But how can you guys do it like this?
Wait, hold on. Let me respond real quick because this is important. Now, I'm for accountability, self-accountability, especially when it comes to black people. I don't think nobody's more hard on black people than what I am. When you got white people, right, they do this selective accountability, right? They'll ignore egregious things that's done by white people, and then they'll kind of like hone in on the problematic things in the black community when they really don't give a fuck about the problematic things. They just use it as a ploy to go after us, right? Now, that's like the selective accountability, and a lot of it is deflection, right? Because when you talk about, like, for example, Diddy needs to be held accountable. Everybody in the black community agree that R. Kelly and Kelly need to be held accountable, right? But then when these same white people ignore the wild shit with Jeffrey Epstein and how these people are bribing people on the left and the right? And powerful white people, then I feel like, your accountability is selective, and I don't even take it serious. So this is what I hear with a lot of these people on the far right. Like, they'll point out the white person that got unalived by the white person in Allen's PTR.
Death to America.
Hold on, bro. Hey, yo, stop bringing Spartan up, bro, please. Like, Allen will point out the Ukrainian immigrant that got unalived, right? But he'll ignore something that had white people and them doing egregious things to black people. So it's like they got selective outrage and there's selective accountability, which I don't respect. But yeah, I don't think pointing that out is whataboutism. I just don't take what he's saying serious because he's not morally consistent across.
Hey, I agree. I agree with that. Hold on, let me respond to that.
A lot of people wasn't.
Right. So yeah, I agree with that, Lou. It becomes whataboutism when it's like a tactic to take attention away from the group or the person or the subject or the topic that's directly being addressed at that moment. So we know what they do, we know what they've done, and we know what they will continue to do. I mean, just take for an example the image of the American gangster. They romanticized it with these violent, savage individuals. And then they took that same behavior when it pertained to black Americans, and they presented it for what it really is.
Exactly.
So we know what they do, plain and simple. We just can't participate in that. We got to have a greater standard of ethics and morality and move differently than them, and while using them in the meantime. That's all it is. And if we don't separate ourselves, if you try to play their game, you're going to lose because they choose the battlefield. They make the rules, okay? And it's a game that we often play and where we're just taught to move to pieces, but we haven't developed a strategy. You're going to lose, plain and simple. That's why the condition is where it is right now, plain and simple. Observe it.
You have a lot of things that y'all was saying. So the reason why I say this, what about it?
If you live in Illinois 16th.
Like,
I'm John Kitover, and I'm running for Congress in Illinois 16th.
By far, he's the minority.
March 17th, you go request a Republican ballot, right?
Honest and open about his feelings. And then you ask him multiple times about his PTR. And then when, he's saying whatever he has to say about it, it becomes, well, they're egregious things that white people do. That's textbook. What about it?
No, see, you wasn't listening because I never, I didn't do whataboutism about his PTR. He brought up how black people need to hold their poor people, the problematic people, the criminals, and their
community. No, you didn't. At that moment in time,
hold on, I'm just clarifying. It wasn't about the Allen's PTR. He said the black community need to hold, because there's a small percentage of black people that's doing criminal acts, and the black people need to hold the ghetto people accountable. So then I said, okay, well, yes, I agree, because I do believe in self-accountability, but do y'all hold the people? See, this is moral. This is holding somebody accountable for being morally consistent. This is not whataboutism. So I'm saying, if you're going to, I'm cool with that. Cool. Hold black people accountable to do problematic shit, but are you willing to hold white people accountable as well? That's not whataboutism, bro.
Yeah. So Lou, 1 second, Alan. Just really quick, a little squabble with Lou. So Lou, in that moment in time, right? The title of the room is white guilt. So if we're talking to a white person about white guilt, and then you ask him earnestly, how do you feel about X, Y, and Z? And then he answers the question, and then you're going to ask him about, holding accountability for things that white people do. That's textbook whataboutism.
No,
I don't see how we can.
November 17th, you can request a Republican ballot. I'm John Kittle. I'm running for Congress in Illinois 6th. If you live in Illinois 16th District, ask for.
Listen, it's called selective accountability, right? If you're going to point out and sensationalize black people's issues, right, and then you ignore white people's issue, you don't really have a problem with black people issues. I didn't tell him, hey, tell me about black criminality. I told him what about white guilt? Black people using certain things against the white people, and y'all turned we turned our backs on you guys. We don't care about you guys calling us racist anymore. It wasn't about how do you feel about black criminality. I'm saying, okay, I took accountability. Yes, we need to address black criminality, but he's coming in bad faith because he never talks about white criminality ever. So instead of so you're mad at me for pointing that out, right? When I'm saying, yes, we need to point out black criminality and we need to hold them accountable, but he never talks about the problematic shit in this community. That's not whataboutism, bro. I'm just holding him accountable for not being morally consistent. He's not.
All right, well, let me... No, Alan, just really quick, because I never got a chance to land. Okay. So Lou, here's what's up, man. Lou, I think if you actually stop and listen to what I'm saying, we're not necessarily far apart. What I'm saying to you is context matters. If we were just having a general discussion, shooting the shit, and Alan brought up what he brought up, that would be one thing. In the context of this room, he was asked a specific question, and he answered it earnestly. And then what ended up happening was you pointed out that he was, inconsistent.
No, I pointed out, this is what you did. You ignored the part where I said I agree that we need to see. I'm holding myself. He talked about the black community in a specific way. I said yes, I agree. We need to hold the black community along with white people, because y'all Americans need to hold them accountable. Then I pivoted and said, okay, are you going to be consistent when it comes to white people? So I'm in agreement with whataboutism is like, let me say this. Whataboutism is like, okay, black people did this. Well, white people did that, right? No, I said no. He said black people did this. I agree. We need to hold those black people accountable. Now, are you going to hold white people accountable? And then if he doesn't answer that, right, he's not morally consistent, because you want to hold the fire to black people, which is cool. I'm okay with that, right? A deflection tactic is, well, what about white people? No, I'm saying let's hold black people accountable. Cool, I'm okay with that. Now let's pivot. Now, can we hold white people accountable as well? That's totally different.
That is whataboutism. I don't understand that, Lou.
It's accountability and rapidity.
That is whataboutism.
It's accountability and rapidity.
Hold on. So let me ask you a question. So if I say, hey, Anthony, you need to have your kid be on time for class, right? And then you say, yes, I do need to hold my child accountable for being on time in class, right? And then, then you pivot and say, yo, are you going to hold your kid accountable as well? Now, is that different than saying, hey, you need to hold your kid accountable? You deflect and say, well, when you going to hold your kid accountable, you don't even take accountability for your kid. What's the difference in the two conversations?
One is
wait, hold on. One is holding one accountable for the issues, and then the other one is holding the person who's trying to hold me accountable issues as well, because their kid is not doing the same. That's two totally different conversations. Do you understand that?
I agree that it's two
okay, so what is that called?
So Lou, may I respond? I don't want to be like limited in my response. My response to you is that they are both whataboutism. One is more egregious than the other. There is a nuanced but profound difference between the two conversations, but they both would qualify as whataboutism. That is my point. When I'm asking you about, well, what about your kid? You know, getting them to school on time. That's whataboutism. Even if I acknowledged it, yeah, you know what, Lou, you make a valid point. I need to get my kid to school on point. But what about your kid? That's whataboutism. You can't run from that, even if I acknowledge it on my side.
Okay, I was not upset, whatever you want to call it. I was not offended that Lou used that and asked about it, because I agree completely. Yes, white people need to take care of their shit too. Number one, I got three things I'll say quick. Number two, I kind of addressed it, and maybe I wasn't clear when I said that white people, they call their lower class criminals, they call them white trash, and they are condemned for that. So socially, there is a shaming system in which white people tell that they're undesirables, you're fucking up. And the third thing is, when it comes to, I brought up the violence of black people against whites as an example of things that white people perceive as being unfair or unjust, etc., etc. Now, as far as that goes, I'm sorry. I was starting to see in my social media a lot of posts of black violence against white people. And I thought, my first thought was, oh, it must be true. My first thought was, well, this is social media. I wonder if I'm being fed bullshit here, and I want to make sure that, is this fact, is it fiction, what's going on? My PDR shows from 2017 to 2021, I think those are the correct years, white violence, this includes everything, white violence against black people numbered 371,000 incidents. Black violence against white people was, look it up so I don't get it wrong, 2,382,400 incidents of black violence against white people. So, no, I'm not making this up.
But see, you have, oh my God, I think I get to say something. It's just, are you done, Alan? Are you done? Because I don't want to throw it away. I forgot.
No, I'm done.
A lot of people stuck here. Okay. Anthony has said it, once again, I've always followed his brother, and he said, don't breath out your mouth. This accountability, this is the classic of when a white person calls a black person out, always go, what about you white people? They will not take accountability. You will find a sprinkle of people that will, but they will not. And black people know this as well. I mean, if accountability was weed, niggas would not inhale it. I swear to God.
Well, let me say this too, because I'm gonna keep it real. The fact that y'all in the chat, let's just walk this down, all right? So there's two terms, because the reason why he said that, oh, that's extreme whataboutism, and the other one is not extreme, he didn't have the proper word. That's why he just said extreme, right? So let's just, so whataboutism That's a term. And then there's this thing called reciprocal accountability. All right. So it's like it's a comparative accountability. Right. So the whataboutism that he's talking about is when somebody deflects instead of addressing the issue raised about them. Right. I didn't deflect. I said verbatim. I agree. We need to hold those black people accountable, and they are problematic, right? And then I pivoted and then did something called a reciprocal accountability, right? So the first scenario, so like for example, someone says you need to fix X, you say I agree, and then I fixed X. Then you say now you also need to fix Y, right? This is usually called reciprocal accountability, right? This is called a consistent standard. This is called a comparative critique, all right? So, for example, you need to reduce population. I don't want to do that. So, the fact that I asked him what is the key differences between the two scenarios that I gave him, and then he just said it's both. It's one is extreme whataboutism. No, that's not how it works, all right? Whataboutism is a deflection and you don't hold somebody accountable.
You live in stupid shit. So fucking stupid.
Okay, yes, I agree with that. And those people need to be held accountable. Right? Now, are you going to hold somebody accountable in your community? That's reciprocal accountability. Do y'all know the difference between the two? Because the reason why Anthony didn't have the terminology when I asked him what's the difference between the two is because he didn't know the terminology. He just minimized the conversation by saying, "Oh, well, this is extreme whataboutism compared to the regular whataboutism." No, that's not.
Okay, you did a whataboutism, bro. Like,
I just want to finish what I wanted to talk about. What I said. I just wanted to look. The definition of reciprocal accountability. Okay.
Reciprocal means you basically get what you receive. In other words, you reciprocate.
That's not reciprocal accountability.
Yes, okay. Accountability, you give and receive.
Reciprocal accountability. 1 second with Lou. Really, 1 second. Yo, Lou. I just want to finish what I'll pass it to you, Karis, but just really quick, Lou. Until you said it, I had never heard the term reciprocal accountability. All right? This is a new term to me. Thank you for exposing me to it. And humbly, to me, reciprocal accountability sounds like a form of whataboutism. You may not feel that way. This is my perception. We can agree that I don't think that they're just two completely different concepts. What I observed happen on the stage is what I consider to be a form of whataboutism. You may see it as something else. We can agree to disagree. I'm not God. It doesn't make me right. Thank you.
Now, all I was saying was how we need, with one brother, it was so much, but he's talking about how we start to fix ourselves. Why we can't fix ourselves. I'm going to start with why we can't. Because the intelligent black people that are on this board here, you know good as well, black people tear shit up. We try to build, we try to create, we try to talk to the youth, we try to talk to the black community. They mess it up. They like to destroy. The only way I think they can learn that life feeds them themselves. Because I'm telling you, I gave up on the black youth. I gave up. I'm not going to sugarcoat shit. So, moving forward on that, one thing you could try to do, since all you got all this knowledge, you could start by helping the black youth. Here you go with one. And I'm not talking all that money and community. I've been on this app for 5 weeks. You go right in the hallway and you can hear the ignorant. Go in that room. Tell them how to talk to each other. Their tone, their mannerism. Talk to those black youth right there. Y'all been in the hallways, you know where they are.
It's number 30. It's number 30-year-olds.
I'm not talking about it here. I'm talking about in the hallway. The ignorant ones. I've been in those rooms. I heard them talk.
Those are all
to them. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're kids. There's a lot of them in there that are kids. My point being, Lou, is if you say you where we doing, how we going to help, start right here. Here's a platform where you can go in there, you can talk to them. Huh? You can talk to them or how they know how. You know what I'm talking about. Talk to the young black youth. Because all I hear them when I'm in there is, fuck, nigga, shit, got that money. Look at their profile pictures. All money. Guns on the bed.
This is our black youth that we're talking
must
about.
have scrolled all the way down the hall.
Yeah. Oh, you can go out right now and use the names of the. Excuse me. You can go into I do. I stroll down the hall. We say
Black youth, are you talking about like teenagers?
No, that's what I'm talking about. Black youth.
There's no teenagers.
Don't get that. There is, man. All of them in there is about from 18 to 20 something. Don't talk in the primary. I'm in the rooms and I'm listening to them. I don't just want to
Chicago, our mayoral election is coming up.
I can go tell you right now. I stroll right there.
Chicago, our mayoral election is coming up. March 17th.
I'm going to stroll right there.
Just
I want to
say, something real quick because I know, we talking about the youth.
Okay, I'm gonna give you just one right here. Here it is. No, don't hit you one because a lot of people can't do this one. Yeah. Here's the one right here. That room called the living room. Yeah, go in that room and go into your. I don't give a hell. No, they're not. No, they're not, Lou. They're not 30. Go in the room and talk to them. Even if they are 30. Okay, well, my point being is talk to the youth. I mean, you're pissing off of my intelligence because I'm telling you that there's some ignorant rooms in here.
I'm John Kitover.
Go in there. That's where we start. You got
John Kitover, and I'm running for mayor of Chicago.
Talk to the young people.
I'm John Kitover, and I'm running for mayor of Chicago. Our mayoral election is coming up.
Yeah, right here. I'm not talking about no government. I'm not talking about telling your young people pulling pants up.
I just went in there. That's a stage full of adults.
I'm talking, whatever. Government pulling pants up.
I said just went in there and listened.
Go in there and tell them
45 seconds.
how to talk to each other.
That's a stage full of adults.
So he lied.
Can we just say this though?
I mean, look, I've been in some rooms late at night.
I sit there and try to tell
when I've said to myself, let me go into a room that I normally wouldn't go into. And I went into a room and I heard some voices that sound very young, like, late teens, early 20s. Okay, I can't, lock it in just from a voice, but they sound really young. And the things that they were talking about was very gratuitous, all right? And I understood about every 8 words that they were speaking. I just listened for a while. But that room he just gave, the living room, he's 100% correct about that. Those are adults in that room.
Can I just add this to the conversation real quick? I just want to say this whole thing.
Chicago, our mayoral.
I understand,
Chicago, our mayoral election is coming up Tuesday, February 23rd, 2027. I'm John Kitover, and I'm running as a libertarian candidate for mayor.
I would like to see
live in safer neighborhoods, lower taxes, and a city government that will be. Chicago, our mayoral election is coming up Tuesday, February 23rd, 2027.
Can black men?
Y'all call them bootleggers, y'all call them sellouts.
No, not them. I'm just talking about some real people, okay? Some real people. Anyone besides the Hebrew Israelites. And
you mean a group of black men is not suffering the crisis of identity?
Well, just because, I find when I hear men be very critical of the youth, the youth is definitely on fire, right? And then we also have, these single parent homes, and that's also a thing too. But where is this collective man movement where, you know what I'm saying? Men on the street can be a collective Hebrew Israelite type of masculine, but not, it doesn't necessarily have to be the Hebrew Israelite. But I'm just saying, where is how the women have made a formation, right? The women made a little formation, jobs, money, you know what I'm saying, businesses, all that stuff. So where is the collective male press that just, should be about that? Because we can't we want to start with the youth, but what about the reason why the youth aren't respecting the men? Is there a gap there that can be filled? That's a legit question.
The gap can be filled, but the problem is that we don't have the community structure to observe that. There's plenty of groups like what you're saying, the Israelites, the NOI, Fruit of Islam, Straight Black Pride. There's plenty of them, but we have to have the real family structure to say that's what it is to send your people over there. You know what I'm saying? And not always say this one's a bootleg, that one's a sellout.
Chicago. I'm John Kitover, and I'm running
for wearing the suit. All the stuff.
I'm John Kitover, and I'm running for mayor.
That's the problem. So there's plenty of black men that organize, standing on business, have high standards, move in that collective form. We just don't respect it as a movement like that anymore, and we don't have any
once again, institutions, organizations, and money's behind that. And we're still talking about the old blackness. The old blackness is dead. Professor Black was said, old black media is dead. All the old black shit is dead. It's 2026. So we have to use better new systems.
I'm John Kitover.
New information out there.
I'm John Kitover, Libertarian.
That's the problem. We keep talking about stuff with
I'm John Kitover, Libertarian.
You can't put old shit on new shit. And it's new. Racism, global white supremacy, capitalism, and all that is all new now. So that's the problem. And so I agree with you on this point though, is that we have to do a better job with communicating with the younger people, boys and girls, young men and women, and it has to be organic. You have to want to do it. You have to love it. You have to see a better picture than you. It has to be really about your people, because the old school taught us is that when you're a father or a big brother or whatever, it's not just for your family, it's for the whole neighborhood and community, right? So we have that out there. We just have to be better connecting it like tentacles, like we once used to do. Because every time we have a group like what you're saying, Sister Yaya, and I hate to say that, brother, blowing up is right. We should on it. Just look at the overall picture of you remember a few years ago when there was a problem in Texas and those black men got together and went there and cleaned all the schools up and stopped the fighting, and then a month later they was getting shitted on. How is black men taking accountability for their community, going to do the right thing, standing on business, holding everyone accountable, not getting the police involved, and then we shit on them later? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So, real quick before we go, before you go. Yeah.
Let me lay it right here. So
I can answer your question.
Okay, so until we say this is what the structure is and what it is, and stop letting other people tell us what to do, then we're going to be the ones, like he said earlier, if we don't fix our own shit, they're going to fix it for us.
Hey, Lou, hold on. Let me ask you a question real quick. Let me ask you a question.
One second. One mic. Yo, Yaya, to your question, everything Mr. Wilson said was on point. I'm going to add a caveat to what he said. The so-called community is a matriarch. Black men are not going to fix the problem. We can't fix the problem. Until there's buy-in from black women, the matriarchy will continue to rule with an iron fist. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And we live in a matriarchy.
Hey, Lou, you there?
Can I say something? Yeah, just
give me 1 second.
Well, isn't that a victim mentality?
Hey, Lou, hold on.
Black men can't do something.
Hey, Lou, look at my PTR.
What's up, brother?
Read my PTR.
I'm John Kitover.
Can someone bring me on stage? I was advised to come up in this room and speak so that you and teach you how to speak and properly communicate with each other.
Look at the answer beneath.
No.
See, that's right. My fault.
I wanted to respond to Anthony though. I want to respond to Anthony though real quick. Angel's, I'd like to respond to you have it.
Because y'all like to do this. It's certain conversations that, because there's real community things. Or like, let's do accountability and seek community. Like, just figure out what's going on in your local city, and there's people that's doing a lot of things that y'all talking about. Okay.
Yeah, I just want to respond to Anthony. Angel can have it. I'm gonna say this to Anthony. Women have a position to play in the family, right? All right. She has a position to play in the I guess you could call it the Black community, right? So that position she plays does not interfere with a man in the position he's supposed to play. It becomes a problem when the man thinks he cannot function. everyone has a responsibility. If you think that you don't know how to add, not you specifically, but a male doesn't know how to add to the community, then that's a problem that person has to figure out. You know what I'm saying?
I'm John.
Chicago, our mayoral election is coming up Tuesday, February 6th. What's up? Chicago, our mayoral election is coming up Tuesday. Yo, so here's right. In order for us to have the building blocks of community is family. If you have 70 to 80% out of wedlock birth, you don't have community. The people that are birthing the babies are the ones that are in control of the community. How can they fix it?
I'm ready for Mayor Chicago.
Like this right now we're in the squabble, so I'm gonna rest my mic right there.
Alright. So again, no one told you to jam your dick in anybody and come and then procreate with whoever decided to produce a baby. And there's called semen retention, there's called control, there's called discipline, there's called wisdom, you know? So you cannot hold on the one who...
Chicago, our mayoral election is coming.
I'm Johnny Kitover, and I'm running for Mayor of Chicago as your libertarian.
Chicago, our mayoral election is coming.
Just that's yourself accountability. Like that's super stupid. But let's just say that is the case, right? Let's just say that is the case that happened, right? Now it is your job as the sperm donor or the person who's in a relationship to actively be there. You don't. Let's just say y'all don't get married. Let's say you don't do it. That's not even the issue in today's world. In today's world, are you there? Are you guys working together?
So Anthony just did whataboutism.
So at the end of the day, is 100% the strongest unit and the source. However, if it does not, let's just say that's just not the case. I still know a lot of people who healthily co-parent, who are there and they show up for their kid, and their kid is doing amazing. They even have extended families, and they have, the village supporting and doing what they need to do, right? So my thing is this. It's you can't make that excuse.
The problem. You can't keep on going on and on like that.
This is the last thing I'm gonna say. I'm sorry you're triggered, but you can't make that excuse.
I'm not triggered. You're good.
Okay, go ahead. You can't make that excuse though. Everyone has a role to play, no matter the circumstance. Go ahead.
All right. So respectfully, you never addressed my point. I'm saying to you, the building blocks of community is family. All right. And 70 to 80% out of wedlock births does not a family make. Furthermore, a woman births the baby. She has empirical evidence that she is at least one of the baby's parents. How many times you got women that don't know who their baby father is? And so now dudes by committee are supposed to take responsibility for this kid. It doesn't make sense. Then we have, if I had $1 every time a woman said, you know what, I'm happy my baby father ain't involved because I get to run it the way I want to run it. I don't want to hear him telling me what to do with my kid. You have a group of people who feel that fathers are an accessory, not a necessity. You don't have a community. You're putting the cart before the horse, and it won't work. You're talking about something that doesn't exist. If you break down household income by ethnicity, Indian Americans are at the top of the list. Next up is Chinese Americans. The trait that those two groups share is how the likelihood that they will be married. They have community. They're not blaming white supremacy for their plight because they make decisions on how they're going to live their lives. This needs to stop, and we need to have honest conversations.
Alright, so we're gonna have an honest conversation about our community. Again, nothing you said had to do anything with the lack of accountability for the male. You have a projection issue where you think everything revolves around the woman and she's the problem. And that, I don't know if that's a talking point where you might need to, talk to somebody about, but we all have a role to play in the house or out the house, okay? Even if the woman is the one that has the child, it is still that man's responsibility to make sure that she has what she needs for that child, all right? If you say she got pregnant by whoever, that man still has an obligation. There were men back in the day who had 2 families, and the child didn't come out until the funeral. All right, but come to find out, that father who had 2 families was still in the other family's life. There is a fundamental problem.
I'm John Kitover, Libertarian candidate for mayor of Chicago. Our election is Tuesday, February 23rd, 2027, and I'm asking.
No matter when that child is born, you are supposed to actively be supporting that child. That does not change with marriage, non-marriage, other family members. It doesn't change. So there is
one of the names on the ballot is Libertarian candidate John Kitover, a U.S. military veteran and longtime Chicago's mayoral election is set for Tuesday, February 23rd, 2027. One of the names on the ballot is Libertarian candidate.
So until you can talk about that in this conversation, to me it just sounds like you're projecting.
So I'm gonna land right here. This is my last mission in the little squad, but my son just got home. So
I'm John Kitover, Libertarian candidate for mayor of Chicago.
Here's what's up. I'm not projecting. I'm happily married. I take care of my kids. Got a beautiful life. Winning. I said it, tomorrow, if black women en masse made a decision and said, we are not having sex unless men marry us. No sex without marriage. Overnight, the marriage rates would go through the roof. We live in a matriarchy. I am sorry to inform you. I at no point have I insulted you personally and said you're projecting or, said ill stuff about your character. It's not that for me. I'm not looking for that kind of interaction with you. But I'm saying to you that I don't understand what substantive disagreement you have with the things I've said on the stage this evening. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and I'm done.
Okay, well, I'll definitely tell you what it is. You have not one time you talked about women.
Chicago's mayoral election is set for Tuesday.
Again, where I know a lot of men who are very disciplined.
Chicago's mayoral election is set for Tuesday, February 23rd, 2027. One of the names on the ballot is Libertarian candidate John Kitover, a U.S. military veteran and longtime. Chicago's mayoral election is set for Tuesday, February 23rd, 2027. One of the
people have no verbiage, and that's a problem because there's people on this stage that were talking about the youth. There's people on this stage talking about the women. Where is your conversation about the lackluster men that have been made and how they're showing up in society? There are a lot of good men out here. Look, I got a bunch of good men around me. All right, I'll tell you that any day of the week. I got some amazing men around me, taught me a lot of things. All right, but at the end of the day, I do, and I can still see that there's room for a lot of men to do better out here. Some punk ass, like for instance, I have a son. We had some snow.
Chicago's mayoral election is set for Tuesday, February 23rd, 2027. One of the names on the ballot.
Diva man who got stuck in the road. I guess he was trying to come get some pussy on my street because I ain't never seen him. All right, he got stuck in the street, rang my damn doorbell. All right, black dude, Gucci'd out, little, all this stuff. He was a little salt pepper dude here. All right, do you have a shovel? I gave him a shovel. All he did was dig the area out so he can park on the side of my house. And then he walked his ass down the street so he can get snowed in. Did he come out the next day and shovel? No. He stayed locked up for about 2 or 3 days. Meanwhile, everybody else on my street, real men was on my street, digging people out, making sure they had salt. He was a diva. There are diva men out here. Like, talk about that. There's some punk ass men out
This is John, mayoral candidate of Chicago.